Hi, so in this video, we're going to be looking at plan 1 of our aggregate planning methods. This is a part 2 of my series of videos which looks at the 3 different kind of plans to meet the demand for aggregate planning. So what is the first plan? The first plan is to maintain a constant workforce at a level necessary to meet the average demand. So what does that mean? Basically, just to make this more clearer, just consider a workplace where you have to produce goods, and you are the manager and you have laborers under you. So how do you distribute the work off? How many laborers do you assign for a set of production of goods? How many goods do you produce in a day? Should we produce all of the goods? Should we outsource the goods? Should we subcontract the goods? Should we bring part-time workers? There are so many questions, and all what I've just stated right now, these various scenarios, is a modicum of a very large planning process. So to make all of that very simpler, companies have conflated 3 plans to make sure that most of the work that we need to be that needs to get done is assigned in an efficient manner. And the first one is to this is the first plan. And if you watched my previous video, you would see that it's a level strategy, and that's because we need to maintain a constant workforce at a level necessary to meet the average demand. So now I'll be showing you a series of steps on how to proceed with plan 1 if it's given in your exam. So let's see. The first column, you're looking at the month. So this will be focusing on a 6-month period from Jan to June, and we'll be given the expected demand. So usually we get the expected demand from the MPS, the master production schedule, which shows what to be made, what goods to be made. Now consider in this example that we are going to produce iPhones. So we're going to see how many, what goods are we making and how many of those goods we are making. And this is in accordance with the aggregate plan to determine the demand that we need to be following. So this is the expected demand, which I said is derived from the MPS. And then we have the production days. What does the production days mean? So the production days basically means how many days you'll be producing for each month. Now, so for example, in January, you'll be producing for 22 days in total. That is maybe excluding the weekends and holidays and everything. So we're forecasting in the future. So we're looking forward to say that we'll be working for 22 days. And in 22 days, we must be produced. The expected demand is 900. So just keep that cycle in mind. So it's continued. So February is going to be 18, March 21 days, April 21, and go so forth. And now we need to find the demand per day. So since we have these 2 variables, we can find the demand per day easily. So it's just going to be 900 divided by 22, which is 41, and just divide and you'll find the demand per day. So then sometimes they might give you the demand per day and you need to find the production day. So again, it's going to be the same thing, just divide 900 divided by 41. And also a tiny thing to keep in mind is that usually when you're dividing, make sure that you're rounding forward. It's a very very self-known thing that you're supposed to round off, but just keep in mind that rounding off is really important. You don't round down, you round up. And again, if it's about 0.5, that is when you round up, that's important because we always need to make sure that we have we have the goods with us. We should make sure that we don't have any shortage of goods. Surplus is okay, you can allocate that to something else later, but shortage is not good for the company, and that will lead to so many problems in the supply chain. So always make sure that you round off. So this is the first step of plan 1. And we find the total of the expected demand, that is 6,200, and we find the total of the production days, which is 1,204. And the demand for all the 6 months is going to be equal to 50 units. So we need to produce 50 units per day for all the 6 months to satisfy this plan to maintain a constant workforce at a level necessary to meet the average demand. So we just found the one part of this whole plan, that is the average demand, that is 50 units per day, and we will be getting into the constant workforce part now. And also this plan is essential because it also can be produced graphically, and I'll show you that right now. Okay, so now here's the graph for plan 1, and I'm going to show you how you can do it. So what you need to know is that in the x-axis we have the 6-month period along with the production days. So for January we'll be producing for 22 days, Feb 18 days, and so forth. And on the y-axis we have the demand per day, which we've got from here. So after we plot that, we can start plotting the graph. So on for Jan, we are producing for 22 days, and we are producing 41 units per day, right? So we go up here. So we go a little forward. Wait, so you need to know that from the origin to here is January. So we are gonna produce 41 units. Just gonna go up here, small bit, and there we go. That's for Jan. And for the whole of Feb, we'll be producing 39 units per day. So then we're decreasing our production. So we go down just a bit. It's not neat as I would like it, but this is just to give you an idea. So we just connect that, and we're gonna go do it for 39 days for the entire of March. For Feb, sorry. Okay. Right, and then for March we see that we're producing 38, so again we go down a bit. Right, and for April we are going for 57, so that's gonna be a jump. So here we go. Right. So you get kind of the gist of it. I'll just complete it right now. Okay, so now I've completed the graph, and but it's not yet done because we have found out the average demand for the whole of 6 months, and that is not kind of shown here. So I'm gonna mark that for you. You're gonna prove that as like a benchmark. And I'm going to use a pen, which I'm considering to tell you that you should not be using a pen. That's a major disapproval look from your professors and teachers, because graphs are like holy sacraments, and no pen should ever go through their way. So, but I'm still going to take the courage, and I'm going to do it. So why I'm taking 50? Because that's the average that we need to meet. So out of all this forecasted demand, we need to basically meet this 50 mark. All right, so this, I hope it's clear, but this graph basically shows that in a graphic in a more easy manner that, okay, so this is our forecasted demand. We should, so for the first 3 months from Jan to March, we should increase the production, because from the production rate, it's very obvious to see that, okay, so for these 3 months, we need to lower it, and for these 3 months, we need to increase our production. So that's how you do the graphical basis, and we're still not yet done because again you need to find the constant workforce, and I'll show you that right now. Okay, so now we're going to find the constant workforce, right? So to find the constant workforce, we can't only use this data that's given to us. We need an additional set of data, which is the cost data. With these variables tell us the cost for holding inventory, the average pay rate, and so forth. But for plan 1, we don't need all of them. We're just going to use some of it, and I'll tell you now. And now in your exam, you'll be getting this kind of a spreadsheet, and you'll have to fill in the data. So let's go step by step. So first, our months. We just enter the months, which we have from here, Jan to June. Alright, then now we are proceeding to production days. Now what production days? Again, it's the same thing that we are carrying forward from our previous data. That is the total number of days you'll be working each month. So we're going to transfer that over here. Okay, so now we're getting into our plan one pond. So this is the production at 50 units per day. So what does this mean? So initially we have calculated here that the demand per day as per plan one should be 50, we should be producing 50 units per day to meet the average demand. We need to produce this many units. So we need to find the production at 50 units per day by multiplying 50 times our production days. So because in 22, so these are the 22 days we'll be working in January. So each day, all those days in total times 50 is how we need to be producing to satisfy the statement of plan one, to maintain a constant workforce at a level necessary to meet average demand. So our average demand, meaning the demand that we need to be producing every day, times the total number of days for each month, right? So 22 into 50. That's going to be our production at 50 units per day. So 22 into 50, that's going to be 1,100. And so forth. Okay, so now we've done this, and now we're moving into demand forecast. Now, if you remember, initially we had a set of demand that we had to fulfill in. That is before the plan one came into our lives, right? So we need to transfer this, our expected demand, to demand forecast, because initially we were going to follow this demand, and it had and the demand per day would be different for each of the following months, right? 41, 39, 38, 57, and so forth. And this was varied. So, and since we are abandoning this and moving to plan one, we need to find the change, which I'll show you right now over here. So we need to transfer this expected demand over here, and we're going to compare it, right? Okay, so now we are moving into the monthly inventory change. This is where we compare our production of 50 units, that is the demand under plan one, and our demand forecasted. So initially we had to produce 900, but because we have to produce 50 units per day rather than 41 units per day in January, we see there's an increase. Instead of 900, we have to produce 1100. So what's the difference in change? The change in inventory, that's going to be 200 more. We need to be producing 200 more to satisfy the plan. That's going to be 200. That's going to be in a plus 200, okay? And now, okay, for Feb, initially we had to produce 700 units because our demand per day was 39, right? So we had to produce 700, but now because we are producing 50 units per day, we need to produce 900. So that's again an increase in 200, okay? Likewise, so in March, we produced 800. Why? Because our demand per day was 38, and 38 times the production day is 21, gave us 800. But now, since we're producing in 50 units per day, 50 times the production day is 1,050. That's going to be plus 250. Okay. And now we can come to a change here. So we used to produce 1,200 in April. Right, our expected demand was 1,200 in April, with the demand per day being 57, which is way more than our average demand that we need to be producing. So we can see there's a difference of we have a 1,200 and we need to produce 1,050. So there's an underproduction. So we need to our change in inventory is going to be decreasing, negative 150. Because we don't need to produce 1,200 actually, we just need to produce 1,050, and so we need to decrease our production of 1,200 to reach 1,050. So likewise, in the same way, for May, it's 1,500. Why? Because 22 times, because our demand per day was 68 rather than 50, and we multiply this 68 times 22, we get 1,500. But now it's 1,500 minus 1,100, which is going to be negative 400. We don't need that much inventory. And likewise, same way, we just need 1,000, but we used to produce 1,100, so it's a negative 100. And now what's the ending inventory going to be? This is exactly like what we do before. So since it's 200, now we add this 200, we need 200 more, including February. The total inventory, the ending inventory change, after accustoming for all of these changes, what is going to be our ending inventory? So 200 plus the 200 for February, which is going to be accumulating to 400. 400 plus 250, 650. For 3 months, it's going to be 650. Minus 150, which is going to be 500. 500 minus 400 is 100, and 100 minus 100 is a 0. So the total ending inventory is going to be 1850. Okay, so this is the inventory that you need to be carrying after customing for all of these changes, and we need to find the cost for so this is later needed to find the cost for this plan 1. Again, so we're having a lot of changes here. From our expected demand, we have found demand per day, and now we're finding a new set of demand that we need to be focusing on, and this carries a lot of charge, and this is one of the portion that's required to find the cost using these variables here. Again, we need to get back to our constant workforce, and I'll show you that right now. So now we're going to find the number of workers to produce 50 units per day. So let's just start from so we're going to look at here. We're going to look at this. The labor hours to produce a unit is 1.6 hours to produce per unit. So to produce 1 unit, we require 1.6 hours, right? So we need to find per day, right? We need to see number of workers to produce 50 units per day. Now, how many hours in a day? It's 8 hours, and you'll be able to find that out from the information given here, because if you look at the average pay rate, for example, it's $10 per hour and it's $80 per day, which is given. This is not what I've put. This is given to us. Since it's $80 per day and $10 per hour, it's gonna be 8 hours a day, right? So if you have 1 unit to produce in 1.6 hours, so in 8 hours, how many units can we produce? So in a day, we can produce, for x, we need to find x. So therefore, 1.6x is 8. Basically, we're going to cross multiply, and x is going to be 8 divided by 1.6, which is a 5. So we need 5. We can produce 5 units in around 8 hours. And we need to say in 50 units per day, right? So we have 50 units per day, and we have 5 units in 8 hours. So therefore, 50 divided by 5, and 50 units in total, and 5 units in a day. If you divide that, that's gonna be our number of workers. So we just found the number of workers, and basically we just kind of finished off our plan 1. We found out the constant workforce at a level to meet the average demand, and we found out that's going to be 10 workers. And now we're going to proceed into the cost of plan 1. Okay, so the costs are going to be really simple, because see here we have found out our inventory that we need to be holding. It's going to be 1850 from all of these 6 months. We need to be holding inventory worth of 1850. So what is the inventory carrying cost? That's going to be our first thing. So our inventory carrying cost is gonna be this 1850 times, right there, inventory carrying cost $5 per unit. So 1850 into 5, that's gonna be 9,250. Are we done yet? Not exactly. We need to find the regular time labor costs. We're getting workers, we need to pay them, we need to include the number of days in total, our regular time labor. Alright? And that's going to be, okay, so it's going to be, we have 10 workers, right? 10 multiplied by our average pay rate, which is, we can take $10 per hour, but since we're doing a regular time labor for a whole, it's going to be 80. And for how long? It's going to be for 124 days, right? Because, again, we're not going to be producing for a whole 30 days or 28 days or 31 days. No, we're going to only be producing for only these amount of days. We're just going to account only for this. So we're going to take a 124. Right? And that's going to be 99,200. The total of this, which is this, is going to be the cost of the whole of plan 1. Now I can tell you an easy way to remember the regular time labor in case you kind of forget what's going on. This is gonna be a really childish way. Please don't judge me, or you can judge me. I really do not care. I do, but please don't judge me. It's gonna like kind of make your work kind of easier. So we need three variables here. Most of the time, people might just put 10 times 80 and just leave it there, but they often forget the 124. So it's really important that you know that you need to include all three of them. So sometimes if they ask for regular time labor, they might ask you that explicitly, might. So if they're giving you that, just know that you can tick off each variable with the assigned number. For example, labor. How many laborers do we need? We need 10. So we got that out and that out. We got for labor, so you need to have 10. And we need the time, right? So how long do we need to pay these workers for how many days? So that's going to be 124 days, and that's going to cancel off our time. And then finally it's going to be 80, because this is the main thing, that this is the pay rate. We usually don't forget the pay rate, because that's what we need to find, and that's going to be our regular. It's like a regular customer. It's going to come all the time, and it's going to take our pay. So it's very silly, I know, but this kind of helped me when I used to like lose out on stuff. So if you keep this in mind, for time being 124 days, labor for 10 workers, and regular, our paycheck is gonna be 80, and all of this gives this plus our inventory is our total cost for plan 1. This was a very long video to make, but I hope this helped you all. And again, so we're going to be finding out the total cost for plan 2 and plan 3, and finally companies will choose one that is most efficient and which is cost effective for them. So that concludes for this video. I hope you really stuck with me and understood what was going on here. I hope it really helped. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, and also like and subscribe. Usually forget that part, but like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.